Okay, welcome everyone. As we welcome in Aaron Swade, and we welcome in Irving Fishbaum, Marshall Castle, Mark Franco, Philippe, Baruch Ian, Shimon Deer, Yitzi Fuchs, Nachman Chapler, Rabbi Krantz, Naftali Javelin, Moshe Lehman. We have here in the shul Berish Gesseman, Kramer, Avram, Avram, Ruvain Shanet, Saba, David Helfgott on Kol HaLashon. We are dedicated by A.B. Spry, who's dedicating the shir that all of his children should be healthy bavas, in the schus of sponsoring the bavas, and also sponsored by Michal Avram, that he should be zeicha to finish Shas many times over. We are holding in the sugya of shtaris, which is not an easy sugya, and we are holding by Tiyufta de Shmuel Betarte, 3 lines from the top of Yadalim, and I'll be patient. We have a little bit piece of yesterday's Gemara, and then we're going to start a new subject. Yadalim Amad 3 lines from the top. 3 lines from the top. Tiyufta de Shmuel Betarte, we said that it's a refutation of Shmuel in 2 points. Chadak Rebbe Eliezer, because Shmuel said, like Rebbe Eliezer, he said that the Mishnah is talking about, and remember the case is where Mark found the promissory note that Marshall owes me $100,000, and he said it was talking about B'She'ein Chayiv Moida. It was talking about where Marshall did not admit that he owes me the money, and even so, Shmuel said that Mark could return to me the shtar because he holds that a document that doesn't have achrayus is not an enforceable document, and therefore there's no problem of returning it to me because I won't be able to collect with it anyway because it's not enforceable, and therefore he returns it to me just that I could use it as a court. And we said that the Brisa says not that way. The Brisa says that a document that doesn't have achrayus you can collect with from Bnei Chayrin, from free property. The Chada, and it's a refutation also of Shmuel, the Amar Shmuel, for Shmuel said, Motzah Shtare Hakna, if Mark found a document saying that Marshall gave me a lien on his property, Motzah Shtare Hakna B'Shuk, Yazer L'Bailam, he's allowed to return it to me, that I should still have my lien. Shmuel is not concerned that maybe it was paid up already and Marshall dropped it, because if Marshall would have paid it up already, he would have ripped it up right away. And that's not like the previous Brisa, Tiyufta, the Ketani Hacha, because it says over here, Afal Pi Sheshnei Maidim, even though both Marshall and I agree, Lo Yazer Lo Lezev Lo Lezeh, the document can't be returned to either of us, because remember we said that we're afraid that maybe the truth is that Marshall paid it up. But we have a kanunya, we have a conspiracy that Marshall doesn't have any money, and he wants me to be able to pull out the document and take away the money from Dr. Block, his buyer, and split it. So there you see from our brisa that we are choishes in that maybe it was already paid up. And as the Gemara says, Alma Chayshinon lepiruim, v'kol shchein hach, and surely over here the loy moida lava that Marshall doesn't admit. There we were choishes for piruim, even where they both say that it wasn't paid yet. We're still concerned about conspiracy. Here, where Marshall does not admit, of course, the Chayshina Lepirayan, that were concerned that maybe Marshall paid it up and he dropped it. And therefore it's a refutation of Shmuel in both points. Now, Amar Shmuel, now, says the Gemara, says the Gemara, we learned earlier that even if the document that Mark found doesn't have a security clause, still, if I had it, I would be able to collect from Dr. Block, from the buyer, and therefore we don't return it because maybe the debt was already paid and we're afraid of conspiracy. But if it doesn't have a security clause, how could I collect from the buyer? So Amar Shmuel, my time in the Rabbanan, Sovrei Achrayis Toy Soifu. They hold that even if the document doesn't have a security clause, it's a clerical error, because that's automatic that there's a security clause. Says the Gemara, Amalei Rava Bar Iti Ravidi Bar Avin. Rava Bar Iti asks Ravidi Bar Avin, Mi Amar Shmuel Hachi? Does Shmuel hold that Achrayis is automatically assumed to be just a clerical error, and even if it doesn't have the security clause, the creditor can collect from mortgage properties from the buyer that's bought from the lender? Shmuel Shvach, to be able to collect for improvements made in the property before it's seized away from you, Shvar, to be able to collect from idiots, from better property.
Rabbi, excuse me, Bob Pollack just called me up. He says he's trying to get in.
Okay, I'm getting him in. Sorry for keeping people waiting in the waiting room. I got an orangutan in this hard Gemara. Sorry, I didn't check. Says the Gemara, so V'amar Shmuel Shvach, to be able to collect for the improvements made in your field before it was taken away from you. Shvar, to be able to collect from better property, from idiots. V'shibud, and the assumption that you could collect from the mortgage property, Sarach limalech, that you have to ask, and it has to be included in the document. Otherwise, it's not assumed. Are you going to say that the one who says in the name of Shmuel that Achrayis Toy is Sofer and it's automatically assumed, Lo Yamar Ha did not say this statement? Says no. Lo Kasha. It depends if you're talking about a loan or a purchase. Lo Kasha. Kan b'shtar hava, one is talking about a loan, where I give Marshall a loan, it's automatically assumed that I reserve the right to collect from the buyers that buy from him after the loan. I'm not giving away my money for nothing. So it's assumed that I'm protecting myself. There's no reason not to. Kan b'mekach memka, but by a purchase, you see, there are speculators. There are speculators that will take a risk. You know, you buy a property, and the property is sold for a very cheap price. The reason why you're getting a cheap price is because you're taking a risk. So it's not always assumed that you're getting an assurance that you could collect. If the property is taken away from you, you could collect from other buyers. That's not assumed. It might be that you're getting this cheap deal because you're willing to take a gamble. Michal Avram, he's a speculator. Okay, I'll put my money down on this. I'll take a chance. I'm getting it for a dime for $1. I'll take a chance. Well, that's what the Gemara tells us. But by Mekach Memker, Kam Mekach Memker, The Ovid Inish the Zovan Arli Yume. Sometimes a person buys something even though it might only be for a day. He's a speculator. He's taking a chance. Kiyahi Davua Bar Ivi. There was a situation where Avua Bar Ivi Zovan Alisa Me Akse. He bought a second story from his sister, and he got it for a song. But his sister owed money to somebody, and when she couldn't pay, a creditor came and took away the attic from Avu Bari. So Asal coming to my Shmuel, he came to my Shmuel, he says, what recourse do I have, to collect money for my sister? Amalei, so he said to him, Kosvalach Achrayis, did she include a security clause? That if somebody took it away, that you're going to get compensated? Amalei, lie. He said no. So then he told him, then you're up the creek without a paddle. You're up the creek without a paddle. So Amaleim Kain Zilish Alma, go in peace. You have no claim on your sister. But you, the master, said that if security is left out, it's only a clerical mistake. So he says, that's only by a loan. But by a purchase, no. Some people, they get property at a song and they take a chance. And since you didn't get a security clause, you have no recourse to claim compensation from your sister. Now, in order to understand the next Gemara, we have to know that you can't just come into court and argue about someone's case. If I have a din Torah with Berish, right, and we have an argument, Michal Avram can't come in and say, well, Rabbi Weiss, what about this claim? He can't come in. I tell Michal Avram, I don't have to talk with you. This is a matter between me and Berish. But that's only if Michal Avram doesn't have any personal interest vested in the case. And that's what the Gemara points out over here. Amar Abaya. Ruvain Shemachar Sadul Shimon Bachrayis. What happened is Ruvain sold to Shimon a field, giving him a security clause that if the field was taken away, he'll compensate. Ubabal Chayv de Ruvain, and now the creditor of Ruvain that had an earlier lien comes and takes the field away from Shimon. V'katarif le'minei. Says the Gemara, Dinahu da azal Ruvain u'mishtoi dina ba'adei. Ruvain could go and litigate with this person that took the field away from Shimon. V'loi matzi amalei, and the creditor can't say, look, la bal dvarim didiyat. I don't have to do business with you. I have a security. I gave you a loan, and you don't have money, right? So I'm going and taking it away from Shimon. I have a previous lien. What are you getting involved? I'm not taking anything away from you. I'm taking it from Shimon. No, he can't tell that to Reuven. Because Reuven says, if you take it away from Shimon, Shimon is going to come and demand compensation for me. The Amalei Demapkis Mine, if you take it away from Shimon, he's going to come to me, since he bought the field with security, and he's going to come to me and ask for compensation. The Gemara says, 1 second. The Gemara says, not only that, the Gemara ups the ante. Even if Reuven sells the field to Shimon without achrayus. So here, when Reuven's creditor takes the field away from Shimon, it has nothing to do with Reuven. Because Shimon can't come and ask Reuven for compensation because he bought it as a speculator. It says, no. Even if Shimon bought the field from Reuven without a security clause, and therefore when the Reuven's creditor takes away from Shimon, Shimon can't go back to Reuven and ask him for money. So then you would think that Reuven Taka has no business. I don't want Shimon to have tinus on me. And that's enough that therefore Reuven could get involved. Even though Reuven, it's not anything out of pocket to Reuven, because when the creditor takes away from Shimon, Shimon can't come back and ask Reuven for money because he didn't buy it with a security clause. But Shimon will have tinus on Reuven. Look at this, I bought something from you when it was taken away from me. That's enough of a reason that Reuven could litigate with the creditor. Yeah.
Okay. They don't have that in municipality. Everybody who's got a field will go register the field. Now, if you're gonna buy the carton, you go and check it out in the municipality.
That's correct. That's correct. He does a title search.
Right, if the guy's a fool, does it, he's a fool.
No. He did a title search.
Yeah.
He did this. He did a title search. He saw that there was a creditor, and that's why he bought it with security.
Took a chance, man.
No, he bought it with security.
Yeah.
That's a cryas. He says, look, if it takes away from me, you gotta pay me. If he didn't buy it with a cryas, then he took a chance.
All right.
Now,
If he didn't buy,
what?
if he didn't buy one at price, why does he have to tell
Like
me?
moving into a place without.
He didn't buy it with a cryas. He said, look, I'm willing to buy it from you because I trust you. Vamra Abaya, 3 lines from the bottom of Daf Yudal Raman Aleph. And remember, Rabbi say after the shir, we will have a Chumash shir on Parshas Pekudei, which is, there is no shir on TorahAnytime.com. And the 7,500 shiurim that I have on TorahAnytime.com, there is not one shir on Parshas Pekudei. So Mark said it's about time. He said this is getting ridiculous. Now, says Rabbi, just because I pick up and go skiing doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a shir on Pekudei. Now, Vamar Abaya, Reuven shemocher sadol l'Shimon shaloi b'achrayis. Reuven that sells a field to Shimon without a security clause. That means Shimon was taking a risk. He was speculating. And then, v'yotzu aleh asikin. There's rumors that the field that Shimon is buying was a stolen merchandise. So now Shimon wants to back out. The din is, even though he didn't pay yet, ad shelo yihzik ba, until he doesn't make a kinyan chazaka, Now remember what chazaka means. In the case of real estate is acquired if you make some improvement on the real estate. So, ad shaloi hirzik ba, before Shimon makes a chazaka, yachal larzaba, he could back out. Even though they had an oral agreement, and normally we frown against backing out after an oral agreement, but in this case where he bought it without a security clause, if he didn't make yet a chazaka, he can't back out. But once he makes a kinyan chazaka, ain't a yachal larzaba. You can't back out. And Reuven tells him, look, you got a cheap deal. You took a chance. You speculated. The amalei chaysa de katre service with kabbalas. A bag full of gnats. A bag full of gnats is a bag full of nothing. It just has gnats. A bag full of gnats you took a chance on, and you got it. Sorry, you bought a lemon.
Was it nuts or nuts?
Nuts. You're nuts. But nuts. May I must say, but thanks for interrupting me in the middle of Chad Gemara. May I must say, have you chazaka? We need somebody that does that, just to make it a little bit more challenging. May I must say, have you chazaka? At what point is it considered that he made a kinyan chazaka? Michidayish ametzre. When Shimon goes around and walks the border. Now, in those days, around the field was an elevated hump. An elevated hump to demarcate the border of the field. When he walked around the border and stepped on it to solidify the border, so that is an improvement of the field, then he can't back out anymore. The Ikad Amre, others say, Afilu b'achrayis nami. Even if Shimon bought it with a security clause, that doesn't give him a right to back out. He bought it with, Itaka paid good money, and he bought it with a security clause. He can't back out if he hears rumors. Because Reuven tells him, look, okay, you have security. If the person says it was stolen, brings a writ of seizure from the court, that he gets it, show me the seizure, and then I'll give you compensation. If you show me the writ of seizure, that the person is going to reoccupy the land, so then I'll have to give you compensation. But until then, you paid me until then you made a chazaka, it's yours, and you got to pay me the money. Now, here we have a very interesting discussion. So put on your seatbelts, and let's learn a new sugya. This Gemara doesn't let up. It keeps on giving us scenarios. Itmar. Michal Avram said, I didn't come here to be bored. Itmar. Hamoicher sada lechaverai. If I sell a field to Marshall, I'm looking for a gullible guy. So I sell the field to Marshall. V'nimtze she'ena shaloi. And Marshall finds out that it wasn't mine. I stole the merchandise. So Marshall wants his money back. He paid me good money. Now the owner repossesses it. So Marshall wants his money back. He paid me $10,000 for it. He wants his $10,000. But not only that, Marshall put in a sprinkler system with $2,000. So he wants money for the improvement back also. So says the Gemara, Rav Amar yesh lo mois v'yesh lo shvach. He could be compensated for the $10,000 that he paid for it, and also for the improvement that he put into the field. The Shmuel Amar Shmuel says mois yesh lo. He gets back his money, the purchase price, but shvach ein lo. But he doesn't get back the improvement. Now here begs the question, why shouldn't Marshall get back the improvement? Here I sold him land that actually belonged to Nachman. So Nachman comes and takes away the land from him. So okay, I got to give him back. I got to give him back welcome Shelley. I think Shelley is joining us from Chesapeake. Good to have you. Good to have you, Shelley. So anyway,
Nice to be here. Thank you.
this is a Hyatt share, right? You're in the Hyatt now, right? It's a share from the Hyatt. So now, please disregard the background static, Rabbi Sam. I'm having trouble. I'm trying to get the static out, but it's not working. So anyway, Marshall is fixing it. The static should be out. Okay. Now, the certain Talmidim, you do better when they're on mute. Anyway, so.
That's a hint, Dukes.
You're not very subtle, but you are effective.
No, Berish wants to know why I don't just use Scotch tape. Anyway, so, and welcome Sandy, it's good to have you. And Ellie is joining us as well. Still, we're down on numbers over here, Rabbi. So we're down on numbers tonight.
Marshall's Law.
So anyway, so Rav Rav says that when Nachman repossesses the land, I gotta return the money to Marshall, the purchase price, because Nachman took it away. And Marshall put in a $2,000 irrigation system. I gotta compensate him for that too. Shmuel says he gets the money shvach einloi. He doesn't get compensation for the improvement. Now here comes the question. Here comes the question. Is this only if Marshall didn't protect himself? And he didn't write in the fine print that he wants to have compensation even for the improvement? Or it could be even if he did put it in the fine print, Shmuel says he's not entitled. Now, you'll say, why shouldn't he be entitled? Because you know what it looks like? If I'm giving him land that's not mine, so it looks like Marshall is giving me a loan. The $10,000 is a loan. He's not getting anything. The land is not mine. So it looks like he's giving me a loan. And if I'm going to give him back more than the $10,000, it looks like interest on the loan. Look at what a way to spin it.
Doesn't the owner have to do that?
What?
Doesn't the owner, if I go into somebody's property, I improve it, doesn't he have
All right, so that's a deal that I have to, I didn't go into that. That's a deal that I have to go into Nachman. If Nachman is going to have to reimburse me for the expenses. That's something else. I'm not going into that. Now, that's how Yori L'Sach Stei Chaveira. I'm not going into it because the Rishonim don't go into it here. So anyway, so let's see the Gemara inside. Again, Boy mi name Rav Huna. Pirish loy es a shvach mau. What about if Marshall puts it in the fine print that if it's taken away from me, I want the improvements also? Time of the Shmuel, the reason why Shmuel holds that he doesn't get compensated for the improvement, Misham loy pirish shvacha, because he didn't put it in the fine print. V'hacha pirish lo, but if he puts it in the fine print, then he's entitled for the compensation for that too. Oy dilma time of the Shmuel, came in the less like Karka, since Marshall is not getting any real estate, it's Nachman's. So it just looks like he gave me the $10,000 for nothing. So it must be that he gave it to me as a loan. And if I give him more than the $10,000 back, if I give him also the $2,000 for the security, for the irrigation system, Mirzei Karibis, it looks like Riblis. So Rav Huna wasn't sure. Amalei first he said yes, v'lav, then no, v'rafia biyodei, and it was weak in his hand. In other words, he didn't have an answer. That's how hard this is. Great Rav Huna didn't have an answer. So Itmar, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Shmuel. Rav Nachman says in the name of Shmuel, Ein achanami moz yeshloi, even if it's in the fine print, moz yeshloi, Marshall is only entitled to get back the $10,000. Shvach einloi, he doesn't get back the improvement. Why? And afal pisha pirish lo is a shvach, even though he put in the fine print that he wants also compensation for the improvement, my timer, came in the karka, and like, since there was really no karka given, because it belonged to Nachman, schar ma'isav, it's like he gave me a loan. And if I give him extra, I'm paying him for the loan. Schar ma'isav I'm advenaitel. Then he's taking payment for advancing me $10,000, which would look like ribis. So Rava asks Rav Nachman, it seems to be we learned not this way. Eisvei Rava Rav Nachman. And by the way, every step of the way in this Gemara is not easy. Every step of the way it's not easy. So the Olam, I applaud the Olam for sticking through these hard sugyas. It's really commendable. Here, Barish comes straight from Muncie for this, right? It's pretty much straight from Muncie.
Straight from Boston.
From Baltimore. You didn't even stop to eat?
I had it. He's feasting now. He came hungry.
This is very commendable for me. I stand up for everybody here. I really do. I really do. There's a commendable island.
Rebbe, we stand up for you.
Want to welcome in Mo. Thank you. We want to welcome in Mo Kushner and Yitzi Padower, who I had a pleasure of seeing at the Perlman wedding. Oh, here's Gedalia. Should we start from the beginning? We rewound all the way to the beginning. I don't know what happened.
I might have one of those tapes when you went that way.
Yeah.
I gotta look up in the glass, if I still have it.
You know, Gedalia, what's going on? We changed Mincha Marav and
Little wedding crisis.
is everything okay?
Well, not our envelopes. They're not okay, but everything else is okay.
What do you mean not your envelope?
Our envelopes were delivered to somewhere else in Lakewood with no idea where.
Oh wow.
Maybe they were sent to all the people that deserve to get them. That'd be nice.
Wow.
Well, we're supposed to get a mail that's delivered someplace else?
They sent us an email, they were delivered, and they show us somebody else's door with our envelopes sitting there.
Wow.
Well, a lot of times they deliver to me your mail too.
The wedding.
28.
You're gonna have to do electronic RSVP.
Hashem Yazor.
It should be good. It should be good. Okay, so now Eisvei Ravel or Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman made this statement that Marshall is not entitled to compensation. Eisvei Ravel or Rav Nachman. So Rava asks Rav Nachman, Eimoitzian, we don't take money, la'achilas peiros, for the eating of crops. In other words, if let's say Marshall grew crops and then it was taken away from him by Nachman, uleshvak karkois, or for improvement, ulemazon heisha v'habanais. In this case, if we an estate is giving support to a wife, or the husband is supporting daughters, we don't collect that from buyers because there's no way, as Saba said, a buyer could do a title search and see what's recorded. But there's no way to calculate the support of a woman that could go on for years, or the support of a daughter that could go on for years. So that you can't collect menuchas mishubadim for mortgaged properties, mipnei tikkun olam, for the benefit of the world, because otherwise people will be afraid to buy anything, because they'll say they'll buy it, and then there'll be a lien to support a wife which could go on for 25 years, or daughters which could go on until they get married. We don't take from mortgage properties. But it sounds like that Marshall could take it from me, that if he made an improvement and Nachman took it away, he can't take it from people that bought from me, but he could take it from me, and we don't say that it looks like interest. So my love bilakech megazlin. Isn't this talking about a case where Marshall buys it from me? I was a thief. I stole it from Nachman, and then he made an improvement, even though he can't collect for the improvement from my buyers, but he could collect it from me, and we don't say that it looks like interest. Says Merlai, B'Bal Chayv. It's talking about a different case. It's talking about in the case where Marshall took a loan for me, and I collect money for Marshall, and of course he doesn't have money, right? He doesn't have money, so I take away the field from Dr. Block, the unfortunate buyer for Marshall, and Marshall and Dr. Block made an improvement in the field. So if Dr. Block made an improvement in the field, I take away the improvement too. And it's telling you there, Dr. Block could go to Marshall and insist on compensation for the field and for the improvement. That's the case where he could take for the improvement. Says the Gemara, "My labelekech megazin loy b'bal chayv." Again, what's the case in Bal Chayv where you could ask for compensation for the improvement? Where I gave a loan to Marshall. Marshall, of course, couldn't pay, so I go to the buyer, Dr. Block, and I take away the field, and I take away the improvement. There, Marshall could turn, Dr. Block could turn and ask Marshall for the compensation for the field and for the improvement. Says, yeah, but there's a problem if you learn it's talking about a Bal Chayv. Iba Bal Chayv, Ema Reisha. It says, Ema Itzian Lachilas Peiris. It says that you cannot by the way, it means that when I take away the field from Dr. Block and his improvements, he could go to Marshall for the field, but he can't go to collect the improvement. So the Gemara says, but v'iba Bal Chayv, if it's talking about a Bal Chayv, then if I gave a loan to Marshall, and I come to Marshall, he has no money, and I go to Dr. Block, who bought for Marshall, and it's saying that I could take the field away from him and the ripe produce too, but that's not the halacha. V'iba Bal Chayv miyaslei peirei. Can I go as a creditor and take the ripe produce away from Dr. Block, who bought it from Marshall? V'amar Shmuel, Bal Chayv goyves hashvach. I, as a creditor, could only collect the improvement, shvach in aval peiris loy, but not the fruit. El pshita begoyzel v'nigzel. It must be the case where I sold Marshall Nachman's land, and Marshall improved it with and had crops in it, and it's saying that when Nachman takes it away with the crops, because it was his field, Marshall can't claim from me the crops. Since the Reisha is talking about a case of theft, Seifa Nami, the case of improvement, is also begoizel v'nigzel. Says, no. Who says? The case of the fruit is talking about a case of theft. The case of the improvement is talking about a case of a loan. Says, it doesn't say that. It says, L'shvach karkois ketzad. What's the case where improvement is made? If I stole a field from Nachman, and it's being taken away, when the collection is made, you collect the principal from mortgage properties, the improvement from free properties. Now, who's doing the collecting? Obviously, it's not the thief, because I, as the thief, have no right to collect. That I have recourse to collect. I stole it from Nachman. What recourse do I have? Meman Govi. So it must be that I stole it from Nachman, sold it to Marshall, and Marshall made improvements, and it's saying I stole it from Nachman, I sold it to Marshall, Vishbicha, and Marshall put in an irrigation system, and it says that he could collect for the actual land, he could collect it even from my buyers. But for the irrigation, for the shvach, for the improvement, he could collect for me. But you see that for the improvement, he could collect for me, and not like Rav Nachman, who says that looks like ribbis. So the Gemara says, look, did you just see that you had to rearrange the words? Not the way it said? Amalei lav tirutze kamatatzes. Didn't you have to rearrange the words? So Toretz Nami rearranged it. That's talking about a Baal Chayv. It's talking about where I gave Marshall a loan, and he sold land to Dr. Black, and I go ahead and Dr. Black makes an improvement, and I go to Marshall to collect my loan, and Marshall can't pay, so I take it away from Dr. Black. The land and the improvement. And it says, in such a case where I take away from Dr. Black the land and the improvement, so he could collect the land even from people that bought from Marshall, but he can't collect the improvement except for Marshall. Tajma, lachilas peiros ketzad. What's the case that you can't collect from Mishabadim for the fruit? So Ari Shagazel saw the Mechaverai. I stole the field from Nachman. And it's taken away from me. Kishu Gaiva, when I collect I collect the principal for mortgage properties of Paris Gaivim Nechasim Dechaim. Obviously doesn't mean I, the thief. Hey Chidam, I don't have any right to collect. I'm the thief. Gazl Maman Gavi. Elalav, it must be the same thing. That I stole land from Nachman, and I stole the land from Nachman and sold it to Marshall. And Marshall grew fruit. Elalav, kigain shigazel sadamei chavera. I stole it from Nachman. Omachar la'achar, I looked around for a gullible person, and I found him, and I sold it to Marshall. Vishbicha, and he grew fruit. And it says that he can't collect from mortgage property, but he could collect it from me. So you see again, he could collect the improvement from me. Says, well, that's not the case. It's not the case. Amar Rava Achabamayaskinan Kigain Shigazel Sadamei Chavei. I stole a field from Nachman, Malaya Paris. I stole a field from Nachman. It was in full bloom. Oh, you should see the apples, Honey Crisp, gewaldig. V'achal es haperis. I ate the entire crop. Not only did I eat, let me see who's not muted. Okay, here we go. Here we go again. Says the Gemara, I stole the crop from Nachman, and I ate the crop, but not only that, I went ahead and I dug up and messed up his land. I made pits and trenches and caves. I was doing a scavenger hunt. I was looking for, I was looking for gold. I don't know what I was looking for. Kigain shigazel sadamei chavei Malaya Paris, full of apple crisp. Paris, I ate the fruit, and I damaged the land. Says the Gemara, Bonigzel ligvais keren. When Nachman comes to collect for the damage to his land, that's the principle, the pits, the trenches, the caves, that he could collect even for my buyers. But when he wants compensation for his crops, that's open-ended crops. And therefore that he can't buy, that he can't get from my buyers. He could only get from me. That he could only get from me, not from my buyers. Okay, Rabbi Isai, we did the Mishnah Yomis already. It's not yet on anything because I didn't have the chance to upload it. So Don't tell me I don't find it yet. You won't find it because I didn't upload it. I will upload it as soon as we finish the Chumash year. And now we're going to have the delight of a Chumash year on Parshas Pekudei.